Hey everybody, welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. It has been roughly a year since the last time that we had property in this subdivision. As you can see from the headline, 5 acres free of planning and zoning restrictions. This is an enviable region. The properties that we list out here historically have sold within a weekend, if not a day. So we've got buyers who like these, and I like picking them up whenever I can because they sell pretty quickly. With these properties, generally they sell pretty fast, and then I get annoyed calls and emails for the next week asking me when am I going to have more. Well, hey, guess what, guys? I've got some more. So let's get to it. This is reference number SCNM-7783, located in Socorro County, New Mexico. This is a 5-acre parcel of land in the Rancho Rio Grande subdivision, and these 5 acres are priced very affordably at $2,500. And yes, very affordably. Double adverb, not great English, but nonetheless, it is an exceptional price for a piece of property this big. All right, with all that said, let's bring this up on a map. So, unlike all of our listings that we have, typically on our listings we'll have GPS coordinates, 5 GPS coordinates, center point, and then the corner points of the property. For this one, we only have the center point. I will explain why a little bit later in the video. Whatever the case, you click this hyperlink text, and up on the map it shall appear. Let's zoom back a little bit, talk about where this is on planet Earth first, and then we will get into some property specifics. So, as noted, this property sits in the Rancho Rio Grande subdivision. That subdivision is basically all of this cutout area that you're seeing right here. It starts up in Valencia County and extends down here into Socorro. The county divider line is roughly about here. When the area was first subdivided, it was all Socorro County, but the county lines were redrawn and Valencia County was born in the early 80s. And hence the subdivision straddles both counties. So up here and then down here. This property sits just west of the I-25 and about 35 miles south of Albuquerque. If you don't believe me on that, just right-click the pin, say measure distance, and put it up here by Albuquerque, and you'll see, yep, about 35 miles. So let's say roughly about a 30-minute drive up the I-25, or if you're not much of a driver, if you don't like sitting in traffic, you've also got easy access to the Rio Metro, which has stations in Belen and nearby Los Lunas. With all that said, let's just talk about the closest town. So first off, the property sits in pretty close proximity here to Belen. As you can see from the map, Belen's a small town, but it's densely developed. There's a lot out here. So any kind of thing you're going to need as far as grocery supplies, hospital, churches, medical, etc., you will have easy access to just sort of right up the road in Belen. Additionally, Belen is one of the access points. If you're coming right off the highway here, you'd come off Camino del Llano, and you'd enter into the subdivision this way. Now, I just want to talk about the Valencia portion of this subdivision. As you will see here, there's development up here. It feels like every time I look at this map, there's more homes in this region, particularly scattered throughout here, just north of this airport right here, and south of it as well. You'll find little homes out here, and actually pretty nice homes that are built up. They'll have power. They're all pretty respectable looking homes. You've got some very well maintained roads in this area, etc., etc. And for the record, in regards to the airport, this is more of a, well, as you can see, they've got the skydiving class here. I believe also the military does some occasional drills in this region. But my photographer's been out there roughly 24 times, and I've talked to people who own land out there and own homes out there, and I've talked to people who bought land from me out there, and everybody reports that the airport itself does not make all that much noise. Hence, I guess people living right behind it. So point being, if you're living where the subject property is, you should not be too bothered by noise from the airport if that is a concern that you have. Whatever the case, I am highlighting all of this up here in Valencia County because I want to show you the contrast down here in Socorro, which is that when you come in here on the map, you're not going to find as many people living in this region. If you zoom in certain parts here, you can see some people living out here. You'll see some little homesteads, or you will see some aborted homesteads. Out here is something that may have once been home to a trailer or an RV or some kind of encampment. That is no longer the case. Part of the reason for this is because, well, with the two different counties, I mean, so first off, Valencia County takes a little bit better care of things out here. They maintain the roads. They've got power running through the region. They charge their landowners more in taxes for property in this region, etc., and they have some zoning restrictions out here. The trade-off down here in Socorro County, because you don't have those zoning restrictions, is that there's not as big of a tax base, there's not as many people fighting to live in this area, and so roads are generally less maintained, and there's no real power going throughout here. Now, let me quickly say this. This does not mean that the property is inaccessible. Many of these roads are passable. Many of them are passable in any vehicle type. Additionally, as far as power goes, there's no power at the lot line. There's power roughly a little bit. So up here on Hinson is the last place that I see power. I see 2 homes up here. And then if you zoom in on the map, you're going to see power line, so on and so forth. So roughly up here at Hinson is where the nearest power point is, where that stops at. Point being, if you're buying this land, if you're looking at this as, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. I've got no zoning restrictions. I can bring my RV, my trailer out here, so on and so forth. You should probably either, number one, be comfortable with the solar alternative for generating power to whatever you've got out there, or give a call to PNM and talk to them about what would it take to even get hooked up out here. I have seen some homes in this region that have power going to them, so it is possible, though maybe it's going to cost you some money. Who knows? Whatever the case, let's just talk about this property. So the property sits right here off of this road. In Socorro County, the road does not seem to have a name. If you zoom up a little bit here to the Valencia County part, you'll see it is called Charon Lane. So the property sits off of Charon. It is shaped like a rectangle. Socorro County does not interact well with any sort of entity that's trying to get information on properties so they can represent them on a map. So Google Maps does not have a plat overlaid. That being said, in our gallery down here, we not only have Google Earth representation of the exact size, shape, location of the property, but we also have the plat map. We have had plat maps before in this subdivision. Socorro County does not cooperate very well when we're trying to get documents from them. And we certainly don't get things that are like super detailed. So I was surprised we even got a plat map this nice this time. Whatever the case, this is lot 143 down here, and Charon runs between 143 and 136. So that's where that road is. Anyway, I will get back to location and GPS coordinates in just a second. So just talking a little bit more about the property here. So point being, you're out here on this land. Now, I will say my photographer generally reports very good driving conditions in the area, surprisingly. This is the first time that he came back and said that Charon, approaching the property from the north, is not as great as if you approach it from the south. He said it's going to be hard for the average vehicle to come down this road and get to the property. So he recommended coming down, what is this, Harrison? Coming down Harrison or coming down Fritz Road and then cutting over down here and approaching the property from the south. So if you're coming at the property from the south, it should be easier to drive up to rather than coming from the north. Additionally, I would like to point out, guys, there are 2 sort of major points of access to this subdivision. The one is the Camino del Llano that I highlighted up here in the north by Belen. Second one is down here in the south. You can come in off the 25 this way and sort of snake your way up into the subdivision as such. This one's a little bit of a longer route, but nonetheless, you can make it up there. All right, so couple things I want to talk about. Before I get to the photo galleries, I just want to talk about free of planning and zoning restrictions. What exactly does that mean? How do we know that? So if you come down here to our county contact section, we have Socorro County Planning and Zoning. They have no formal office. Nonetheless, they have a website where they answer the basic question by saying, quote, Socorro County does not have a zoning or permitting ordinance. At this time, there are no county regulations or restrictions on the use of real property. Yada, yada, yada. Additionally, the Rancho Rio Grande subdivision does not have covenants or restrictions, so pretty much anything that you want to do out there, you will be able to do. Anything, of course, is not only exclusive to building a single-family residence, but building a tiny home, a shipping container home, parking an RV out there, a trailer without a permanent foundation, or even some, eyesore like a purple school bus and living out of it. Based off no county zoning regulations, you should be able to do all of those things. This is one of the reasons why these properties are so popular. Anyway, as with all of our lots, we get photos taken from the property itself. The area out here, this subdivision, looks largely interchangeable one photo gallery to another, but I keep sending our photographer down there to take more photos. Whatever the case, as you will see here, the first photo of the road, the road looks passable there. I presume that's his southern approach. You can also get an excellent sense of the property. Now, most of this subdivision out here is largely flat. It's a mesa. Mesa means table in Spanish. So largely flat. And of course, that's beneficial for anybody who's going to be building out here or who's just going to be parking something out here, because what it means is that you're not going to have thousands of dollars in costs in excavation or landscaping just to get the land ready to be built on. This is pretty much set up so you can come out here, park an RV, park a trailer, something like that, and, with very little effort, boom, you've got a home site. I will point out, you can kind of get a sense of it here on the map, this sort of thing right here, as well as from the photo gallery, that this specific little area here in Socorro County has a little more undulation is not the correct word, but it rises and falls a little bit more than the average piece of property out there. That being said, there's a good flat territory to this, as well as some hills and some valleys to the property. Hills and valleys is probably inadequate as well. It's little rises and falls, we'll say. Anyway, and of course, you've got some great views out here in the distance, including the Manzano Mountains, and it looks like there's a little homestead right over there. Blah, blah, blah. I will let you guys peruse the photo gallery on your own time. Point being, I like these properties because of this lack of zoning type of thing. Now, of course, you're going to be out there by yourself. You're going to have a lot of privacy. That appeals to a lot of people. To other people, it does not. But as I pointed out earlier, you've got easy access into nearby Belen, so you're never too far from grocery supplies or just from people, etc. Additionally, the Google Earth thing that you're seeing right here is a little old. It's been this way for a couple years. We've sold a bunch of properties out there, so I have to imagine at this point there's some people living in this region. We sold actually quite a few properties off of Harrison Road just right here last year. So you may very well have neighbors who are pretty close by who have power hooked up or some kind of hookup going on over there. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, with all that said, guys, just a couple more links I'm going to point out to you here. If you have questions about getting a well set up on the property, Office of the State Engineer in New Mexico is the best resource for that. Talk to them about permitting for residential wells, or you can call a well driller in the area and you can get a sense of what the cost is. Say, hey, I'm looking at land in Rancho Rio Grande. It's just west of the I-25. Is that an area I can put a well in? Can I get water that way? And if so, what is the cost? What's the average, as far as drilling, feet downward into the earth? What does that cost? How much am I going to have to spend on it? They or the Office of the State Engineer will be able to speak to that topic with greater authority than I possibly can. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so one last thing I just want to talk about in regards to GPS coordinates on the property. As noted earlier, when we list a property, we'll typically have 5 GPS coordinates, corner point, and then or center point, and then 4 corner points. Socorro County does not give over this information easily to the types of software that we generally use to get that information. Generally, with the software that we have, all we need is an APN number. We put it in, and then we get pretty much all of this legal information back from the software. Socorro County is one of the only counties in America that does not cooperate with that software. So, point being, these GPS coordinates are ones that we got from the county itself. We call the GIS office. There's a woman there. Her name is Gail. She's in and out of that office quite a bit, but when you can get her on the phone, she's usually very helpful. And we said, hey, Gail, Rancho Rio Grande, Unit 4, Lot 143. I got a plat in front of me. Where is this property exactly? And they come back with GPS coordinates. Now, I'm saying this because it behooves me to give you accurate information. It does not behoove the county to give me accurate information. So they can tell me anything, and they've got me off the phone. We did an overlay with the plat map, this thing down here, on Google Earth, and I'm going to say that matches up fairly well. So it's safe to say that on a giant 5-acre chunk of land, if you have these GPS coordinates and if you navigate your way out there to the property, you're going to be on the property. That being said, I can't tell you what the corner points of this lot are. Now, as with all of our properties, we recommend to our buyers, if you're going to start building, if you're going to put up a fence, you're going to want to get a surveyor to tell you exactly where this property starts and ends, where your chunk of dirt is versus the neighbor's chunk of dirt. And if that's your intention to go out there and building, you're going to want to get a survey done. And we say this to all our buyers, particularly anyone who's building. If your plan is just to go out there and use it as a camping property, use it as like an occasional, recreational property or something, you're going to go out there and shoot guns or whatever you're going to do, you probably don't need that, okay? But that being said, I'm going to encourage anybody who buys this property to just be aware that these GPS coordinates are from the county. They are not from software that we have, which is normally very reliable when it comes to those sorts of things. So those coordinates, I think, are a fair ballpark of the property's location, but if you start building out there, you're going to need to confirm that with a surveyor. Blah, blah, blah. All right, guys. With all that said, if this is a property that you're interested in buying, if the 5 acres free of planning and zoning appeals to you, just come over here, click the Buy Now button. It's going to bring up this secure checkout page. We're going to ask you for a couple pieces of information, such as what name or names do you want on the deed, tax address, where's Socorro County going to send the annual tax bill. Come down here, agree to the terms of service, click Next. On the next page, we'll ask you for credit or debit card information. Once you enter that and you give us $2,500 plus the $150 doc prep fee, $2,650 total, you will be the new owner of the property as far as we are concerned. Now, We're going to get in touch with you within 24 hours. We're going to email you a copy of the new deed. We're going to say, hey, look this over, make sure we spell your name right, things like that. Once you say it's good, we're going to autograph it, notarize it, and we're going to mail it off to the county to record it. County records it, you are officially the owner, and then the county will forward it on to you, and it will eventually be in your hands within about a 3-week time period. So about 3 weeks from the time you put down the money, you will have that recorded deed in your possession. FYI. All right, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 702-919-7170. Shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or as always, leave a comment here on the YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.